Hi, I'm Mark Mazzaferro, the Communications and Media Officer for the City of Vacaville. And today's a very special day, at least for me, because we get to interview Mayor Len Augustine. It's something I've asked to do many times, and he's always politely declined. But as Mayor Len is leaving office, he's finally agreed to sit down and chat with us about his life and times as the mayor of the city of Vacaville. So we're very excited to have Mayor Len here in our studio today. Len, thank you for being here today.
Well, thanks for inviting me. Yeah,
so,
appreciate it.
Our pleasure. And again, I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to do this sooner, but better late than never.
I agree.
Okay, good. All right, so let's just jump into it. Mayor, you've been involved in the city's political scene for 26 years now. Yeah. Starting as a planning commission member, city council member, and now mayor. What was it that made you decide I'm going to get involved in what's happening in the city of Vacaville?
Well, to set the stage for how this all happened was I was retired from the Air Force, came back to Vacaville, had a house here, and soon got involved in some of the things that were going on in the community. Mm-hmm. The Onion Festival happened to be on. I was called by a friend of mine saying we need somebody who handles the volunteer part of the program, and our volunteer chairman has left. And they got 2 months to go, and they said, would you mind doing that? Yeah, I guess that sounds like a pretty good deal. And then I found out I had to get food for 500 people, schedule them and make sure they were there on time and on the right days and all that. Mm-hmm. And that worked out pretty well. I guess as a result of that, somebody noticed that I was back in town, and I got invited to put an application in for the Planning Commission, which I did. Mm-hmm. And the issues there were primarily such things as private property rights. And I was very interested in that, and I thought that was something that was important. And so as a result of that, while I was on the Planning Commission, I became the chair after 2 years, and I wrote a strategic plan along with Steve Wilkins. We kind of co-wrote the new strategic plan. Mm-hmm. And so I took it to the city council, and they voted it down 5-0, saying we don't need a strategic plan. And so I decided, well, the only way to get that is maybe run for council. And so I was not reappointed to the Planning Commission, and I ran, and out of 10 candidates, I came in first, and within like 6 months, we had a strategic plan.
Nice. So you think you maybe scared off the city council with your strategic plan?
Well, I think maybe I looked like a political threat, but the furthest thing from my mind was ever running for the city council. Mm-hmm. However, there I was now making that tough decision. And by the way, that's a tough thing to do, to decide. I think the first time you run for office, you're wondering what it's all about and whether you really should do it or not. So that's a tough decision.
And then you did it.
I did it, yeah.
And you were elected,
and then we got the strategic plan on the docket, and it passed. At that time, I don't know if it was 4-1 or 5-0, but we did get a strategic plan, and as a result of that, I think that's been a very beneficial thing for the city. And the newspaper picked up on it. The reporter was there, and they liked it, and I think that kind of propelled me into a position of kind of leadership.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and speaking of leadership, you were in the military for how long? Another 26 years?
28 years.
28 years.
Yeah, 28 years.
So, and you rose to the rank of colonel in the United States Air Force. How much did that military experience help you in when you got involved in politics and being a leader politically?
Yeah. Well, I think certainly it must have helped in some way. You know, the military is very much of a team-oriented organization. Everybody works together. We don't really, we're not jealous of each other when people get promoted. We work together. We're godfathers and godmothers, our families, of other people who are in the military. And so it's a very friendly organization. It really is part of a family. And I think that goes well when you get into politics, to have that attitude about being family.
Mm-hmm. So then it helped, certainly.
Obviously it helps. I mean, it got out of 10 candidates, I came in first, and so I think there was something to that, that maybe some leadership traits were showing. I don't know. So
you served on the city council for how many? A couple of terms, I guess.
Yeah, 4 years.
4 years.
I served as 2 years on the planning commission, and then the chair left. Moved out of town, and I was then elected chair, and I spent 2 years as the chair of the Planning Commission.
Okay, and then you got elected to City Council.
Yes.
And for 1 term or 2 terms?
Which I was first at, yeah, 2 terms. In the middle of my second term is when I ran for mayor. So I had 6 years of experience, 4 years as a vice mayor, and 2 years as a city council member. And so then I became the mayor in 2002.
2002, and then in 2006 you ran again, sort of.
Unopposed.
Yeah, it was. I remember it was you, Pauline, and Steve Hardy.
Right.
Were no one ran against you guys.
Yeah.
I took that as a sign that people were pretty happy with the job the 3 of you and the rest of the council were doing.
Well, maybe that, and also probably, I tell you, deciding to run for office is not an easy chore to do. It's your family gets involved, you bare your soul basically, and your life, and so you become instantly kind of at the end of a microscope.
Yeah, right. But you still won. You served another 4 years as mayor, and then you took some time off.
Right.
How come?
Well, I don't think you should stay forever in politics. I do believe that 8 years is probably the right time. I think they do that for President of the United States, and there's term limits. But I do believe that it's not your role to just stay on forever. That 8 years is probably the right time.
Sure, but then you came back 4 years later, and you must have missed
my
working
friends
with all
called
of us.
me. My friends called me and said, "We want you to run for mayor again," and I was not really interested in doing that. But at the last minute, I think there was 3 days for me to get my paperwork in, and so I ran, and much to my surprise, I won pretty overwhelmingly.
Yeah, it was, and it was good to have you back in the office. You know, I enjoyed the first stint of your when I started working here, you had just really retaken office, I guess, or been reappointed.
Well, and you bring up a good point, because I really like the people that work for the city. I mean, they're hardworking, dedicated people all throughout the city. I don't care what department you go to, and I see people working late, overtime, without pay. You know, in most cases, I think some people have a salary, so they don't get that benefit. Right. But it is an amazing organization. I was a commander of the 89th Wing at Andrews Air Force Base, which is the home of the Air Force One and under my purview. And that's really dedicated people. When I came here to the city, I didn't expect to find the same kind of quality of people, but they were equally as good. And so, what makes Vacaville great is really the staff that we have here in the city and the work that they do.
Now, what did you think about when they recruited a new PIO? What was that like? No, I'm just kidding.
No.
We don't want to know.
Well, that was
a shock.
Hands down, that we saw within you. I'm not kidding. I'm going to answer this question. You leave it in.
Well, we're going to cut it out, but go ahead, answer.
No, you leave it in.
Okay, sure.
No, I'm serious about it, because a public information office is really a critical part of it. We didn't have one when I first got elected mayor. And then we did hire a person who did that, but I don't know that we really defined the role in the way that you have defined it since you've been there. And I want you to keep this in here, because it's an important part of getting the message out to the people.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens in post.
Well, let's see. I may have to win this one.
I was going to say, well, you're not the mayor anymore. No, that's horrible. All right.
No,
well,
I am the mayor anymore.
you got another month. That's right. All right. So let's talk about, in 26 years, you've certainly seen a lot of things change in our community. What do you see as your biggest accomplishments over your time, both in planning on the city council and as mayor?
Well, the strategic plan was obviously a big step, because, in the past, there is constrictions on you that sometimes prevent you from really having the kind of dialogue that you need to have. The Brown Act kind of prevents you from talking to each other. So if you have an open session where you decide on what the goals are, the staff knows where you're heading.
Right.
In the past, they didn't know if you were for or against some item, and so when you already have that meeting to decide what you want to accomplish, it makes it a lot easier. That's number one. And the second thing was, I had some specific goals. One, I wanted to make the city the safest city in Northern California, at least, maybe and beyond. Also, I really looked at the downtown and thought it needed to have something. It had lost its pizzazz as a result of things that were done before I got there, like the outlets and so forth. And so I wanted to improve what the downtown was like. My wife took me on a trip to Poland, And of all places, Poland became one of the models for what I saw as being our downtown. And they had town squares where people could converse and talk and enjoy each other's company. And they weren't huge, and in fact, they weren't even as fancy as our little town square is. But it kind of opened the door to a lot of activity in the downtowns. And most downtowns are failing today because there is no activity there. They're in shopping malls and those kinds of things.
Right.
So it's been a success, and that's probably the proudest thing I am of things that I brought to the city was the town square.
Town Square, and we've said this many times on this show. I feel our downtown is certainly the nicest one in Solano County, if you ask me. I mean, in terms of the setting and some of the amenities that are down there, and now with the East Main District and the ever-growing scope of what's happening down there, it's just getting better and better, isn't it?
Yeah, well, in fact, that's why I came back the second time, was I decided that East Main Street was kind of in forlorn shape. It was not really in good shape, and you've got chain link fences around it and all that, and thought we needed something there. And mixed use was one of our ideas, to have some housing there. You bring people downtown who are going to walk downtown, the restaurants will benefit, and I think that may just be the start of more mixed use projects, not only in downtown, but maybe throughout the city.
Sure, sure. Now, looking back, you've got some really great accomplishments. Are there any things maybe you look back and you say, I wish I'd have done that differently, or wish we'd have done this differently? Anything immediately leap to mind?
Yeah, well, there's probably a number of things. You know, you reflect on it afterwards. Unfortunately, there are policies that we have in place that have been in place for many years. Also, there's restrictions placed upon us by the state and even the county and the federal government, which preclude you from doing some of the things you want to do.
Sure.
And as a result of that, you make decisions based on somebody else's policies from outside the city. And that's the difficult part, is trying to appease those who you have to reply to and not have your own say about it.
Well, you know the saying, all politics is local, right? All government is local, however you want to phrase it. But it sure seems like lots of other people want to tell you what to do all the time. And
Absolutely.
That makes it tough.
Well, and I think some politicians have the feeling that they're no better than people, you know, and so you see things coming in about where you live, what do you eat, and what do you drive, and you know, all the environmental issues. Some of them obviously are beneficial, but some of them are also an infringement on private property rights and on people's rights.
Sure, and that's a big issue for a lot of folks. I don't want anybody telling me what to do with my property or what car I should drive or anything else. That's part of the beauty of our country. Right?
That's right.
So what do you think's the key to being a good mayor?
I think listening. Listening is probably the most important thing. You know, if you go out, and I spend an awful lot of time out of the office and in town, all over the place. And as a result of that, I hear people's concerns and their issues. And in most cases, we're able to do something about it, you know, some help at least. But that certainly is a big part of it, is people getting to know you and realize that you are just a common person like they are. And you don't think yourself as being any big shot just because you're the mayor or you're on a council.
Well, and that kind of leads into my next question, and maybe you've already answered it. You have this reputation of being everywhere. I mean, I don't think in the years that I've been working with you, I'm trying to think of a time where you told somebody, no, I can't go, other than I've already got 3 other things booked at the same time. So, you know, from throwing out the first pitch to ribbon cutting to reading to second graders, I mean, that's...
Well, there's some of those things that are a lot more fun.
Well, sure,
You know, council meetings are certainly not the most fun you have.
I didn't mention council meetings,
well,
okay?
I'm just saying that the activities that take place at schools, for example, where you might have the opportunity to be a role model for a child and maybe help them in their life. And I've had many, many stories. Don't want to relate them today, but things that make you feel good and make you feel so much better yourself. And so there's a lot of things in life, but certainly interaction with people and making sure that they feel comfortable with who you are is an important thing.
Right. We just had an election, and maybe you've kind of answered this too, but I'm going to ask again.
Yeah.
Did you miss the action? Did you miss
Not a
being
bit.
involved in it?
Not
Not
a
at
bit.
all. Not
No.
even slightly, huh?
You know, you have a concern, but it's in the people's hands, and the people do the right thing. They decided who they want to vote for, and I think that's something that is best left to the people.
Okay, good, good. All right. Now, what are you going to miss most about being the mayor?
Well, there's a lot of things. I mean, first of all, you really have a feeling that you understand most everything that's going on because people do tell you. It's almost like being the parish priest in many ways. People really do tell you, they call you, they send you texts, emails. I get many, many emails and texts every day, and phone calls for that matter. My phone book has been listed, my phone number has been listed in the phone book, for example. And so, but I've had some interesting and happy occasions where people have you know, told me things that made me very pleased and happy.
Okay, how about what are you going to miss the least?
Well, I think the hard decisions are something that you sometimes dwell on later on. Did we do the right thing?
Right.
I think it affects people's lives. You know, this local government, whether you're on a city council or a supervisor of the county, you're face to face with people. At least twice a month, and obviously more often if you're out and about. And so, you know, you kind of lose a chunk of you. When somebody that you know passes on, for example, it takes a bit out of you. Those kind of things are not the happiest moments in your day when you know people, so many people. I probably met just about everybody in Vacaville, at least I would guess maybe, I may be exaggerating, but about 80,000 people in the city of Vacaville.
Well, that's pretty much everybody, Mayor, unless you spent some time at the prison.
I have.
Oh, and you've been there too. Okay, great.
Yeah, I wasn't incarcerated, but I was there.
Oh, paid a visit. Okay,
Yeah.
I got you. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
so just the people then, yeah.
Yeah, the people, and we do have great people in the city. You know, I've mentioned that earlier, but I think the dedication of staff of Vacaville are just amazing people, and it doesn't make any difference what job they have. I do like to walk around through the city and into offices when people least expect me, and see the dedication and the hard work. And you ask a question, and you're going to get a good answer because they really do keep on top of things.
Well, I'm going to share a story of when I started working here, and there was something going haywire, and you came into my office, and you're going to deny this because you've already denied it, but I'm going to get this on camera. You came into my office and said, you know, Mark, I was in the military for 28 years, and when I asked for something to get done, it got done. And why is this taking so long? And I'm like, Mayor, I'm going as fast as I can, you know. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, sir, yes, sir, I'm not in the military. But anyway, we got it fixed. And then a few years later, I brought this up, and you said, I never said that. So are we still denying that you said that to me?
No.
Okay, good. Good.
I might have said it.
But what?
No, that wasn't. I don't think I've ever been overbearing to anybody, but
No.
I always accept their attitudes and things. And it's been enjoyable. It really has been an enjoyable experience in City Hall. It's like a safe haven in many ways. You come here and everybody is pushing forward in the same direction.
Right, right.
So you don't get a lot of opposition from people here. You generally work together.
Well, you know, I came from another city, and after I'd been here a little while, people asked me, so what's the difference between where you came from and here? And it was pretty obvious to me, and it even goes back to your strategic plan, where I said it seems like Vacaville has a plan, and we try to follow it as close as we can, you know, and when you know what's expected of you and you know what the goals are, it just makes it that much easier to do your job. And that's a big part of what makes our community so nice, you know, planning.
It is. And, you know, I think another really thing to remember is that if you give other people credit for things, more things will get done. So,
Well, sure, a pat on the back is much more effective than...
Definitely.
So anyway, all right. Well, listen, anything else you'd like to add about your time
No,
as
I'm
mayor?
going to miss being the mayor, obviously. I think it's been a wonderful experience for me. 26 years between the Planning Commission and being on a council is certainly enough for anybody.
Right.
But I'm not going to be finished in doing other things within the community. I'm very happy to be living here. I love the city of Vacaville. It's a great place to play, work, and also have fun. So.
Yeah, sure. Do you foresee yourself ever, like, maybe just coming down for a council meeting and saying a few words?
Well, you know, when I took the 4 years off, I actually didn't even watch one council meeting. And I didn't think I want to be interfering with what was happening at that point. I've been very pleased with all of our city council members who have worked very hard as well. The dedication is immense. I mean, the people really work hard at what they do. It's I don't know if the general public really understands how much we really care about Vacaville, but everybody's dedicated.
You have to be to do that job, don't you? I mean, you can't kind of just lackadaisically say, oh yeah, council meeting. You know, you got to be there.
No,
You got to do your homework. You got to read the staff reports. You have to know what's happening.
You do, and I think that's the benefit that you gain from it as well, knowing what's happening and what's going on. It's always exciting to see a new business moving in, or a store, or whatever is going to be on the horizon, and people think you know everything. Obviously, you don't, but it's nice to have a heads up about what's happening in your neighborhoods and in the city.
So now we're going to district elections, and there's a concern that we might not get a lot of candidates from the various districts. It'll be difficult to attract people to run for office. What kind of advice would you give somebody who's thinking about running for office here in the city of Vacaville?
Well, it's very important that we have good people run for the offices on the city council, and certainly even for the supervisor jobs in the county. I don't know that I would give anybody any advice. I would say be prepared that it's hard work. It's not easy. There certainly is a lot of responsibility that goes with the jobs. But I think we have great people in the city of Vacaville. I'm kind of proud to be a member of this community, because you'll recognize even when at a stoplight, people are waving you through when the light changes, and people are waving you through at the stop signs, and they seem to be courteous. You know, there's a few knuckleheads out there, but by and large, we have a very giving and happy community.
Right.
And that goes even for all of the nonprofits and the donations that are made every year. It's just astronomical to see the kind of outreach that people are making to help the community. And we've seen that now with the fires up in Santa Rosa and in the campfires and all those places. Very tragic things, but people are responding, and they're responding from Vacaville too.
Well, Mayor, it's been, for me personally, it's been a pleasure working for you and working with you. And quite honestly, I'm going to miss seeing you around. So I hope you'll stop by and visit us here at City Hall here and there, whether it's at a council meeting or maybe just stop by to say hi, have a cup of coffee or whatever.
Well, I will certainly do that, and it's been my honor to be the mayor of the city of Vacaville. This is a great community, great people, as I said, and I am going to miss it, but I'm still pretty healthy, and I can look forward to maybe having a few games of golf and those kinds of things that I haven't really had the time to do in the past. And I wish you and the city all the best as well. Looking forward to staying here the rest of my life. So thank you very much for all you've done as well.
Mayor, thank you for taking some time out of your day, and thank you all for watching.